Good morning. Welcome to Time in His Word. This morning I'm going to paraphrase a story out of the 10th chapter of Luke. Starts in around verse 23 and goes down to 36. It'd be too hard to read and it'd just be easier to paraphrase. So Jesus was teaching the disciples, and he's telling them, he says in verse 23, telling the disciples, he said privately, "Blessed are the eyes which see things you see. For I say to you that many prophets, kings wished to see the things which you see and did not see them, and to hear the things which you heard and did not hear them." And a lawyer stood up to him, putting him to the test, saying, "Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" And he said to him, "What is written in the law? How does it read?" And he answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and as your neighbor." And Jesus said to him, "You answered correctly. Do this, and you will live." And then the lawyer, and it says in verse 29, but wishing to justify himself, he said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus tells him this parable about a man traveling down the road, and robbers catch up to him and beat him up and leave him for dead. And the first person that passed him was a priest, and he crossed to the other side of the road not to be close to him or see him. And the second person was a Levite, and he done the same. But the third person was a Samaritan. He stopped, he bandaged him up, he took him to an inn, and then he paid the innkeeper money to watch over him till he came back. And Jesus asked this lawyer, he said, "Which of these three do you think proved to be the neighbor to the man who fell into the robber's hands?" And he said to him, "The one who showed mercy toward him." Then Jesus said, "Go and do the same." So a lot of times, not just because in this parable it says a lawyer, but a lot of times we try to take our intellect and push it into the scriptures to make ourselves sound smart, or whatever way you want to phrase it. But what I get out of that parable is the Samaritan. He was busy, he was traveling on his journey, but he stopped and took the time to care for somebody in need. And I think a lot of times, to me, when we read scriptures, we can find parables like that. And it's just a subtle reminder that in our daily lives, in our daily walk, doing the little subtle things like the Samaritan did is what we should be doing. Now, we don't have to go as far as he did to stop and bandage somebody and pay their hospital bill. But if you see somebody that's a couple dollars short at the cash register and you got a couple extra bucks, just give it to them. Nothing lost, nothing gained. You don't have to stand there and wait for praise and accolades and all this stuff. Just give the money and turn and walk away. It's simple as that. But I want to close with this verse, and it hits on on how we think that we are smarter than God, and really we're not. I always look at it on his worst day, we're still not smarter than him. If God, is there such a thing as God having a worst day? In 1 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, verse 18, it says this, "Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you thinks that he is wise in his age, he must become foolish, so that he may become wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness before God. For it is written, He is the one who catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the reasoning of the wise, that they are useless." It's just like in that parable when the person asked Jesus, "Well, who is my neighbor?" Well, he knows who his neighbor is. He's trying to twist it around and get you one of those gotcha moments on Jesus. But Jesus turned it around, and it became a gotcha moment on the person asking the question. So rather than spending our time trying to be smarter or think that we're smarter than God, why not spend our time doing the things that he had commanded us, like in that parable, looking out for our fellow man, helping them out when they need help. You know, like I said before, even if it's just a couple bucks, or if you see somebody sitting at the window, looking out the window, just drinking a cup of coffee, and you go to leave, pay for the coffee and then walk out the door. What's the big deal? Not to bend my arm. I've done that a few times. It's a good feeling. I kid you not, it's a good feeling. And then you know, for me, it kind of makes me gives me that good feeling that I've done something just as simple as buy somebody a cup of coffee. But we don't know what that person's struggling with for the day, and that mere act of kindness can make a huge difference in that person's outcome for the day. So why not, rather than trying to outwit God, we just do as he commands, as he talked about in that parable, and be like the Good Samaritan and buy somebody a cup of coffee today and see what happens.